Were you recently involved in a car accident in the state of New York, and you have everyone telling you that you're entitled to tons of money? Well, what many people don't know is that for people who are involved in a car accident in the state of New York, for them to get any money for their pain and suffering, their injury has to meet a certain category or threshold. My name is Dennis Ryan. I'm a personal injury attorney here in New York City, and in this video, I'm going to go through the different types of injuries that qualify for pain and suffering recoveries on car accidents in the state of New York. Now, there are 9 different categories that qualify for compensation for pain and suffering for car accidents in New York. The first category is death. So if anyone is involved in a car accident and they die, unfortunately, as a result of that accident, they are obviously entitled to compensation for their pain and suffering. The second category is dismemberment. And for anyone who's involved in a car accident and unfortunately is dismembered as a result of their accident, they are also entitled to money for their pain and suffering as a result of that car accident. The third category is significant disfigurement. So for anyone looking to sue who is involved in a car accident and they have been significantly disfigured as a result of that accident, they are also entitled to pain and suffering as a result of that accident. So the fourth category is a fracture. So for anyone who's been involved in a car accident and they've suffered a fracture as a result of the accident, that would be a qualifying injury that would allow them to get compensation if they're involved in a car accident that is the fault of someone else. The fifth category is a loss of a fetus. So anyone who's involved in an accident who is pregnant and loses the fetus as a result of that accident would also be entitled to money for that pain and suffering as a result of that incident. So the first 5 categories that we just spoke about are relatively cut and dry, and there's very little argument back and forth as to whether an injury would qualify. But the last 4 categories are the type of injuries that happen most frequently and have the most debate between the injured people and their attorneys and the insurance companies. So the 6th category is a permanent loss of a body organ, member, function, or system. Now, in order to prove this, you're going to obviously need to go to a doctor and have that doctor make a determination as to whether they believe that you have a permanent loss of a body organ, member, function, or system. Now, the 7th category is a permanent consequential limitation of a body organ or member. Now, I know this may sound very similar to the 6th category, which we just discussed, but doctors can help differentiate as to certain injuries that might qualify under category 6, but not category 7, or vice versa. Now, the 8th category is if you suffer an injury that is a significant limitation of use of a body function or system. Now, one of the differences that you may have noticed from this category that was not in the past 2 categories was the word permanent. So in category 8, it just says significant limitation, and that significant limitation does not need to be a permanent limitation. Now, in order to prove that you have a significant limitation, you need to go see doctors and medical professionals who will help diagnose you with injuries and explain why those injuries have had a significant limitation on your life. What goes into that is the doctors taking x-rays, MRIs, CAT scans, and other objective tests that help give you a diagnosis. They also have to do range of motion testing and other types of qualitative testings to determine how significant that injury is. It's not enough for you to just say, I've got an injury. You really need a doctor to go through all those objective tests so that they can prove both to the court, to the insurance companies, and maybe eventually to the jury why your injury falls into that category. Okay, and last but not least, the 9th category is if you suffer a medically determined injury that is not permanent, but it prevents you from doing nearly all of your activities for the first 90 out of the 180 days after the accident. So to satisfy this category, you've got to prove that you have an injury that was caused by the accident, and that even if it isn't permanent, it prevented you from doing almost all of your activities for the first 90 out of 180 days after the accident. So for this category, what we're looking at is the 6 months after the accident and what you were able to do or not do because of the accident. So what we'll need to show here is that a doctor diagnosed you with a certain type of injury, and the doctor told you that because of this injury, you can't do almost all of the activities that you used to do before the accident. So some examples of this: if you had a job at the time of the accident and you couldn't work, that would obviously be something that's very important. If you had a daily routine, if you went out of the house and went for walks or went to the gym or things like that, and a doctor told you not to do those things for 90 out of the first 180 days after the accident, that would be another thing that would fall in. So these are all things that you need to be able to prove through medical evidence and through your own testimony as to how it affected your life. So if you've been involved in an accident recently, you may not know if your injury falls into one of these 9 categories. That's why it's very important to come and speak with a lawyer who handles car accidents on a daily basis in New York State. So what we can do is help you explain what your injuries are after we look at your medical records and let you know whether you fall into one of those 9 categories. So if you've been involved in a car accident and you're not sure whether your injuries meet one of these 9 categories, contact us at the number that's provided at the end of this video. Please also make sure to subscribe so you get all new informational content that's posted on this YouTube channel in the future. I'm Dennis Ryan. I'm a personal injury attorney here in New York City, and I'll see you on our next video.